All right. Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a force that's shaping your daily life way more than you probably realize. We're talking about the attention economy. See, there's a battle for your mind happening every single second of every day, and we're about to show you exactly how it works.
I mean, you know that feeling, right? You just pick up your phone to check one little thing, and poof, an hour is just gone. You find yourself endlessly scrolling, clicking, reacting. If you've ever felt like your own brain is kind of working against you, well, you're not wrong. And you got to know, this is not an accident. It is absolutely by design. So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll define the battlefield itself. What is the attention economy? Then, we're going to expose the main weapons being used, things like clickbait, rage bait, and this newer thing called brain rot. After that, we'll get into the psychology that makes us all so vulnerable, and then look at the algorithms that just fan the flames. And finally, the most important part, we'll give you a strategy to start reclaiming your focus.
Okay, so let's zoom out and start with the big picture. What in the world is the attention economy, really? It's a total flip of the script. In this system, your attention, your eyeballs, your time, your focus, that's the real product. It's the most valuable commodity there is. See, these platforms aren't really in the business of just giving you content. They're in the business of harvesting your screen time and then selling that to advertisers. It's simple. The longer you stay plugged in, the more money they make. And that one single goal has fundamentally reshaped the entire internet. So, to keep us all glued to our screens, this economy depends on a pretty powerful set of tools. Let's take a look at three of the biggest ones: clickbait, rage bait, and brain rot. And what's so wild is when you see it laid out like this, you can really see the strategy. Each of these mechanisms has a very specific job, and it works by targeting a different emotion. You've got clickbait, which preys on our curiosity. Then there's rage bait, which literally weaponizes our anger. And finally, brain rot, which offers this bizarre kind of relief from all the digital noise. Let's dig into each one.
First up, the OG, clickbait. Just think of it as the modern digital version of those old-school tabloid headlines you'd see at the grocery store. Its one and only job is to get you to click, because in this economy, every single one of those clicks translates into revenue.
And there's a very clear formula to it, which I'm sure you've seen a million times. You've got those sensational headlines promising some unbelievable secret, the numbered lists that our brains just find weirdly satisfying, and of course, those super dramatic thumbnails with bright colors and shocked faces. It's all engineered to do one thing. The reason this all works so well on us is because of something called the curiosity gap. Basically, clickbait gives you just enough information to get you interested, but not enough to feel satisfied. It creates this mental itch, a little gap in your knowledge that your brain just feels this compulsion to scratch by clicking that link. But curiosity can escalate into something way, way more powerful. And that brings us to rage bait. So if clickbait goes after your curiosity, rage bait goes straight for your outrage. And here, the goal isn't just a simple click. Oh no, it's an angry comment, a furious share. And why? Well, it turns out, online, almost nothing drives engagement quite like good old-fashioned anger. And this is why it's just so brutally effective. It taps directly into how our brains are wired. For one, we have a negativity bias, which just means we're naturally drawn to bad news. Anger also acts like a virus online. It's incredibly contagious and spreads like wildfire. And for an algorithm, an angry share is a super strong signal that people care about this content. So what does it do? It pushes it to even more people.
Okay, now for our third tool, a much more recent phenomenon you might have heard about: brain rot. This word is interesting because it describes both the content itself, like those split-screen videos with some mindless game on one side and a podcast clip on the other, and the mental fog you feel after watching way too much of it.
But here is the real paradox. In a digital world that's just jam-packed with high-stress, rage bait, and tempting clickbait, this low-effort stuff feels like an escape. It's a mental vacation. The catch is that the very thing we're using to recover from digital exhaustion is actually making the problem worse in the long run. It's training our brains to need constant, low-level stimulation, and it's chipping away at our ability to truly focus.
So, why do all these tactics work so well on us? Well, it's because they are expertly, masterfully designed to exploit the engine that's already running inside our own heads, our cognitive biases and our neurochemistry.
Two of the biggest players in this game are confirmation bias and negativity bias. So, platforms use confirmation bias to keep us locked in our little echo chambers, feeding us content that we already agree with. But at the exact same time, they use our negativity bias to make sure the most outrageous, anger-inducing stuff jumps out and grabs our attention. It's a really powerful 1-2 punch.
And humming beneath all of this is the dopamine feedback loop. This is the exact same system that governs addiction. It goes like this. You're motivated to scroll, hoping for a little reward. The platform gives you one. Maybe it's an unexpectedly hilarious video or a like on your post, and your brain gets a nice little hit of dopamine. That pleasurable feeling then reinforces the scrolling, which makes you want to do it again and again and again. And that's how we end up in that zombie scroll state. So we've talked about the engine in our brain. Now let's talk about the other engine, the one in the machine. I'm talking about the algorithms that decide what you see. Now, this right here is probably the most crucial thing to understand about the internet today. The algorithms are not designed for our well-being. They're designed for one thing, to maximize engagement. And they are completely agnostic. They do not care how they get it. An angry emoji, a nasty comment, a furious share. To the algorithm, these are all just powerful signals that the content is engaging. So it pushes that content to more people. And what's really interesting is that each platform has its own special flavor of amplification. Just look at this breakdown. Facebook's algorithm figured out that posts getting angry reactions were super engaging, so it started amplifying rage bait. YouTube cares about watch time, so it rewards clickbait that keeps you hooked. And TikTok, with its focus on rewatches and just finishing a video, has become the perfect breeding ground for that short, hypnotic, brain rot style content.
Okay, so understanding the problem is a massive first step, but the most important question is, what can we actually do about any of this? So let's talk about the path forward.
And we have to be clear, the stakes are incredibly high. On a societal level, the system is pouring fuel on political polarization and eroding public trust. And on an individual level, it's contributing to more stress, more anxiety, and a very real decline in our ability to focus. This isn't just about wasting time online. It's becoming a public health issue, both for our minds and for our society.
But here's the good news. There are solutions, and they exist on two different fronts. There are things that we can do as individuals to protect ourselves, and there are also bigger systemic changes that we need to start demanding from the platforms themselves.
Think of this as your personal toolkit. Honestly, the first and most powerful tool you have is digital literacy. Just understanding the tactics we've talked about today makes it so much easier to spot them in the wild. Beyond that, it's about being intentional. Set limits for yourself, actively curate your feeds, and maybe most importantly, practice pausing before you react or share. That tiny moment of friction can be your best defense. And you know, maybe the best defense of all, intentionally building a rich offline life. Because the best way to win the attention economy is frankly to spend less time in it.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. In an economy where your attention really is the new currency, every single click, every scroll, and every reaction is a transaction. So the question you have to ask yourself is, who are you making rich? And what are you really getting in return?